Hey, you might want to put on a helmet so it don't make a mess when I blow your mind.
Hey, how you doing today? Name's Gabriel, so make a move out the way. Hey, who you trying to be? I can barely walk straight, so don't follow me.
The finest insanity on your radio dial. The Flipside Radio Show.
Hit me.
It's the Flipside, the podcast fans of the insanity. My name is JD, TheMediaJack, and last time on the Flipside, I actually had the honor of sitting down with someone who has 25 years plus in the industry, radio broadcast industry, which anyone who knows me knows that that's the dream job for me. Now, I get the pleasure of sitting down with someone who's just breaking into the industry. A graduate, or soon-to-be graduate.
Not a grad yet.
Not a grad yet.
We're getting there.
Not a grad yet, but still working on it, fresh from Vancouver.
Yeah, I am.
And Levi Sinclair, who is currently the fun chaser with the company that I work for, the Jim Pattison Broadcast Group. Hi, Levi.
Hello. And I'm also the official promotions assistant, so you gotta you gotta work the serious title in beside the fun
chaser. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. I'm a trucker and a equipment operator.
Exactly.
Yes, gotcha.
Exactly. Hi.
How are you?
Well, I'm good. I just ate a blizzard, so I'm flying high.
Yeah. Thanks for volunteering to be on my podcast.
Oh, my pleasure. I love to talk, and I think, as narcissistic as this sounds, I love to talk about myself.
So we'll start off with the fact that you work here with me at the Jim Pattison Broadcast Group. You have two titles. You are the fun chaser, which everyone who's ever seen you drive around in that yellow vehicle, all deckled up.
The banana bus is
the
what
banana
I like
bus.
to call it.
Yes. You go around reporting and being involved in special events and promotions and such. And then your other job is you are behind the scenes helping to coordinate promotions and events within the building, right?
Exactly, yeah.
What made you want to get into this type of career?
It's kind of a funny story because we have to backtrack a little bit.
Oh, please.
To the beginning of time. I'm just kidding.
How about not?
So when I was little, I didn't know how to read until I was a lot older than when you're supposed to know how to read.
Okay.
And I was homeschooled mainly because my mom didn't want me having a negative connotation towards reading. So she didn't want me to be in a classroom full of people telling me I had to learn something before I was ready to. And we were in a position where that was possible. So basically, whenever my mom asked me, like, Levi, why don't you want to learn to read? I told her it was because the stories in my head were better than the ones I could read. And
which is a legitimate argument. You get so many people who are like, oh, the book was so much better than the movie. Well, it's because it's in your head.
Exactly. And what I didn't like about other people's stories was that, I think this is exactly why people read, but was that I didn't know what was coming up and I wasn't in control of the ending of it.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I'm a bit of a control freak. But then basically as I got older and I eventually did learn to read, I learned how to write. And I realized that my favorite thing that I liked to write was an adaptation of somebody else's story. So somewhat based off of actual events or occurrences. And then between grade 11 and 12, I did a study abroad trip to Europe and was doing an English course and a media production course in 5 weeks. And shortly after getting to Europe, realized that the one thing that I absolutely loved about traveling was being able to talk to local people. So hearing the stories of a gentleman in Prague who moved there from Canada in the 80s and just never left. Or just stuff like that with the average person walking down the street that people don't typically take the time to stop and ask questions. Yeah. And that's what I liked about it. So I had always listened to CBC. I always listened to podcasts. I loved that. I loved that it was stories that you didn't have to read, that you just listened while you're doing your own thing. Yeah. And so then when it came time to decide what I wanted to do, I was torn between either going into musical theater or going into radio.
That's kind of a spectrum.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that you couldn't really combine, at least at this point, right? Like maybe down the road you could collaborate and whatever, but when you're starting off, like you don't necessarily have that option. So yeah, I auditioned for Capilano University for their musical theater program, and I got in, and I wrote my entrance exam for Radio Arts and Entertainment at BCIT and got in there too. And
There's a
then
dilemma.
I was like, okay, well, where will I make more money? And I was like, well, nowhere, because it's either musical theater or radio. So, but I ended up going with radio because it had immediate potential to have some sort of gaugeable success with. Whereas musical theater, you're constantly auditioning, and I didn't feel like I was at a point in my life where I only wanted musical theater. You know, like I wanted to be able to foster a lifestyle where I could live on my own. I wanted to be able to move away. I wanted to grow my own life in a new community, and starting off in musical theater wasn't going to allow that for me. So here I am in Prince George, chasing the fun.
Now here you are in Prince George. You're originally from not Vancouver, but you're from North Van?
No, I was born back in the day. I was born and raised. I was born in BC Women's Hospital. So yeah, I'm basically like Lower Mainland. Okay. Yeah, I grew up on a street called Jellicoe down by the Fraser River. Okay. So sort of like between the airport and downtown Vancouver.
So right in the core of Vancouver.
Yeah. Yeah. And then moved to Fort McMurray when I was 4. Stayed there till I was 7. Moved back to Vancouver. Moved around a bunch in every place that we were. We just didn't really stay in one place for a long time. Yeah, moved to North Vancouver, and that's sort of where we stayed the longest. So my parents have lived in that house for 8 years, and that was the longest we ever stayed in one place. So
I can relate.
Yeah.
Since from kindergarten straight through until grade 11, it was a different school every single year. It was lived in Surrey, Vancouver, Burnaby, back to Surrey, back to Newton, then Abbotsford, and just everywhere. So it's weird how in the Lower Mainland it seems to be kind of the norm until you find like a really, really beautiful house or you strike it rich. You tend to move around a lot.
Absolutely. And for me, I was lucky in the sense that because I was homeschooled, there was always those constants, you know. So moving around for me, it didn't really affect my friend group. There were people that I kept in touch with, right? But it was never having to start with a complete new slate until I went into high school. Yeah,
because you weren't homeschooled the entire way. No,
I went into public high school in grade 8.
Was that a bit of a shell shock for you?
It wasn't. It wasn't in the way that everybody assumes that it would be. So, for example, everybody was like, oh, how is a homeschooler going to just get thrown into a public high school socially? And that really wasn't the issue for me as much as I think I've mentioned this to you before, but it was the expectations on the teachers' behalf that I knew things that were common sense to other school kids that just wasn't etiquette that I was ever brought into, right? So I'd never had to raise my hand to go to the bathroom. That seemed ridiculous. I was like, if I want to pee, I'm going to go pee.
Why are you stopping me?
Yeah, exactly. And then the example I always use is multiple choice bubble sheets. And asking how to do that and getting in trouble for being sassy. So, you know, it was stuff like that where I didn't... In that sense, it was a bit of a shell shock because it was a totally different culture, you know? And that really made me realize that culture isn't depicted by different geographical places on the globe. It's everywhere.
It's scenario-based.
Exactly. Yeah. And... I'm a pretty open-minded, easygoing person when it comes to... Okay, I say easygoing, but I don't... I'm open to a lot. Like, I'm not somebody who's really stuck in my ways, and I really like and appreciate change.
Well, clearly.
Yeah.
Here you are in Prince George.
Exactly. But that was the biggest thing for me, was just expectation. And even things like, for me, social dynamics were always really simple. If you're spending time with people who you like, and who like you, and who make you feel good, and who... support you and who truly have your best interest at heart, those are the types of people you should spend your time with. Yeah. It's not that simple in public high school. It's it's planned and it's calculated, and that was something that was a dynamic that I had never been a part of. And that was challenging because I didn't feel like people were living genuinely.
Really?
Yeah.
In public high school?
Yeah, I know, right?
Say it ain't so.
So that was, I want to say, the biggest learning curve for me was I felt that relationships were really easy and then soon realize that they aren't as you get older. It's forcibly more complicated than that. And then once you're on your own and whatever, then you can sort of do that how you'd like.
Yeah.
But for those 5 years, it was a little bit of a hiccup.
Yeah. Well, I was in public school my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I could kind of sort of see like there's certain things that I was just, taught and brought into like bubble sheets and reason you had to go to the washroom and proper etiquette and knowing that as you get older and the grades, grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, it slowly and surely becomes this free-formed, we're having fun and here's recess and I'll trade you this candy bar to slow and pressure and hormones and everything just turns into this giant war zone pressure cooker for 4 to 5 years. And like I can remember times where, I wasn't acting like myself because I thought, hey, if I do this and I dress like this and I go and hang out and try out this, then I'll be cool.
Yeah.
Which doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I got to ask one question on that because I had a bit of a shock the first time that the first time I got homework was in grade 4. And it blew my mind because why am I doing this at home? I'm not in school anymore. Why should I do schoolwork at home? What's this homework crap? I didn't do homework for like 4 months. And finally the teacher started sending notes home with me foolishly because I would just throw those notes in the garbage. And it's still to this, it wasn't until there was a parent-teacher meeting that the teacher finally confronted my parents and said, why doesn't Jay ever do any homework? And you never sent any home, and then everything started to unravel there.
Right.
Yeah. So were you aware, this is an odd question, but were you aware of homework?
I mean, to an extent, because it's, I don't know, I knew it was a thing. Yeah. But keep in mind, doing things at home wasn't weird for me. Right? Yeah. So coming from a place where I was very self-motivated and I want to say very driven, which is what I think I got out of homeschooling mainly. Homework wasn't really an issue for me. It was like I got home, I did my homework as soon as I got home and it was done, and then I had the rest of my evening to do whatever. I'm not a procrastinator. So homework for me wasn't, I'm also not a rebellious person, so the thought of not completing an assignment, it just gives me anxiety. No, it's not. It isn't. So I think that was honestly the part of high school that I almost felt was where I excelled. Was things where it was alone and wow, that sounds depressing.
No.
When it was alone. But yeah, it was working on assignments that were completely up to me. It was self-paced. I had a deadline, but I could do it on my schedule, how I wanted to do it. And that was where I was most comfortable. I ran into, I want to say, issues when it was group work in the classroom. And it was okay, you have half an hour to work through this with your group, because that's just not up my alley.
Yeah,
I've gotten a lot better with it as I've gotten older, but it was really, really challenging for me with group work because it's not that people didn't do things my way. That wasn't ever the issue. It was that if we were doing work, I didn't want to goof off. I didn't want to whatever until stuff was done. That was really exhausting for me, was not having control over other people's desire to just get something done. Because to me, it's you know what? I am willing to go out and have fun. Yeah. I do love to have a good time. Yeah. But everything needs to be done first.
Right.
So that was hard.
So being in high school, I could picture it now because there's a group assignment. Let's do this, and then nothing happens for the first 3 quarters, and then oh crap, we got to cram it all together, and then it's kind of mishmashed.
Exactly, and that was the biggest thing for me. It was well, you know what, we could just get it done the first day, and then just chill. I don't know why that doesn't sound appealing to anybody.
It does sound appealing, but it's hard work.
I know. And then of course I was deemed the crazy control freak one because I was always on people's backs about being can we do it? Can we do it now? How about now? So,
I don't want to watch Ren and Stimpy right now. I want to do this.
There was just no win. None. But that's okay. I figured it out as I've gotten older, and I've found ways to, I want to say, feed that need for control in constructive ways. So, you grow and you develop and you change and you learn, right?
Well, one would hope.
Yeah, definitely. True. If you're not, you're doing it all wrong.
Exactly. If you're not, then you end up one of those strange people who thinks they're a child inside of an adult's body. And there's you need help.
Yeah.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
people.
Exactly.
You weren't just home educated though. Like you did the homeschooling and then you had high school, but you had extracurricular activities.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them.
Oh, yeah. I did.
But if I could say, this was done on purpose because this way you get to associate yourself with other people and then learn people skills.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So my parents are very unique in the sense that they are probably they have very high expectations. So, like, I don't necessarily mean academically, whether I brought home an A+ or C, although A+ is usually went over better. But they have very high expectations in the sense that, like, you need to do everything that you can to make yourself the best person that you can be, in whatever context that means. So, like, for me growing up, it was, okay, so you're homeschooled. Great. Did that give me an awesome relationship with my mom and dad? Absolutely. Did that make it so that I was really self-motivated? Absolutely. But they also saw the fact that there is the chance that if you don't do it properly, your kid ends up with no social skills. And it happens.
Yeah.
It totally happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like extracurricular central in the Sinclair household. Yeah, I did everything from, I was a dancer for a really long time, so I did Irish, ballet, acro, contemporary.
Acro.
Yeah, basically like lyrical dance combined with like front walkovers and like handsprings. It's more of like a gymnastics meets dance.
Okay.
Sort of deal. And then that sort of segued into a performing circus program called Circus West, which I will always have such a soft spot for in my heart. It's just an amazing group of people. Amazing group of people. So it's the only performing circus program in British Columbia that trains people to the standard of which you can audition for Cirque du Soleil.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot of people don't they don't take it that far because the life in circus is, one, incredibly rough on your body, and two, that is your life. It's similar to being a prima ballerina, right? That's all you do.
Gotcha.
So I had the aspiration of one day wanting to be in Cirque for a long time, and that stopped for multiple reasons. But yeah, so I was in this performing circus program that just gave me such confidence, because there's something about being able to master something and then perform it in front of a crowd that, for me, there are a few things that are more exciting than that. And I love to perform, so whether it be circus or radio or musical theater, I don't really care. Yeah, and then I did musical theater for a long time. I did sword fighting, like not archery,
Sword
not archery. I mean fencing, but sword fighting. And then I did archery. And
What swords?
Oh, I don't even remember anymore. Like the medieval
Katanas,
ones.
bastards.
I don't like the ones that have like a sheath.
Okay, we won't get into specifics.
No, I used to know all these things, but I was a child back when I was sword fighting.
Okay.
That sounds weird. Yeah, I only did that because a group of people that I knew did that, and I wanted to be part of my group of friends.
Makes sense. Yeah,
and I took a lot of cooking classes. I did a bunch of courses at the Pacific Institute of Culinary Arts. Fun fact, they have really great kids programs there. I was part of a creative writing group. We did tons.
Yeah.
Like, it's never ending.
Was there any of those extracurricular activities that really caught your attention?
Circus was by far. And you know what it was? It was the fact that the coaches there were so supportive. And they taught such healthy philosophies, in my opinion. So one thing I never did was team sports until I was at PCIT last year and decided to play volleyball. But that's an entire other story. I never, ever did team sports.
Okay.
Everything was always individual. Even in dance, it was like
you're
alone.
It's a spotlight.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of what I really liked about it. But it also really taught me about self-competition, which I think can be really destructive if it's introduced in the wrong way. And it makes it so you feel like you're never good enough. And to me, that isn't the point. I think, you can never be the most, like, the best at something. Like, okay, you can be the best, but is that when you stop your knowledge? No, right? But I think that's very different than never being good enough. So they were really good at Circus West about teaching kids to always want to do better and to always want to push themselves, but to never hurt yourself in the process, whether that be physically or emotionally. Never beat yourself up about it. If you can't do something that somebody else can, whatever, you either want to do it and you learn how properly, or you just don't, and that's fine. So it was was a big lesson in confidence, for sure. It was a big lesson in maturity, in the sense that we had to work really hard to put on these shows. Like, we were training while in like grade 6 and 7. We were training like 16 hours a week.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was intense. And it was the same group of people, and we were really tight-knit. A couple of them I still keep in touch with, but like we've scattered like all over the world. It's crazy. But yeah, there's one guy that ended up in Cirque. That was really cool to know somebody that ended up in that position. But yeah, for me, that was my life for a really long time.
The one person who ended up in Cirque is the LA crew or the touring crew?
The touring crew.
I'm sorry, Las Vegas. I meant Las Vegas, not LA.
Yeah.
The touring crew.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he, I think it was last year that he ended up taking a break because he had an issue with his shoulder. I'm not sure if he's back in yet, but yeah, he did that for a couple years, which was really cool.
Speaking of injuries, you're the only other person who has possibly a worse neck than me.
I feel like I could probably crack it now, but I don't think people need to hear that.
I can turn off the microphone if you need me, but
no, that's fine.
Did you hurt yourself in this rigorous routine?
No, I stopped doing circus because I was diagnosed with idiopathic scoliosis. Contrary to popular belief, idiopathic does not mean you're an idiot. People ask me that all the time. They're like, "Oh, did you get scoliosis because you're stupid?" No, that's not why. Thanks, though.
No, it's
insensitive.
No, it's because people keep asking me stupid questions,
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
turn my head.
Exactly. So one thing that I will say that circus really did for me was I was in incredible shape.
Okay.
I look back at like some of the things that I did, and I was like, "Wow, I was a beast." That's so cool. I mean, then again, at that age, I was just like muscle, and that's it. But right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so
that becomes your life. Then
yeah, absolutely.
You don't even think about it.
Like I remember we the aerial silk, so not like a rope, but like the fabric, right? People know what that is now. They never used to, but we used to climb up those with just using our arms. Now those are stretchy, right? Because when you do tricks with them, when you tumble and you fall, it needs to have some sort of elasticity to bring you back up, and also not to like strangle you.
Yeah.
So
Or
we used to
jolt.
climb up those in like a elevated straddle. So basically, like you're holding on. I'm trying to like demonstrate this, but I realize now that I'm just talking.
No, it's fine.
All right, theater of the mind. So it's like you're holding on to it with your arms, and you're supporting yourself with bent elbows, so that you're holding basically from your core, and then like with piked legs out in front of you. So like you're in a seated position, but supporting yourself, and then you would climb up all the way with just using your arms.
Wow.
But we did those as drills. So you did that like 10 times. And now looking back, I'm like, okay, one, that's badass.
That is badass.
But yeah, like it was crazy. And so through that, I had an incredibly strong core and an incredibly strong back. So when I got diagnosed with scoliosis, which for those of you who don't know, it's basically when the spine, which is hypothetically supposed to be straight, curves into an S shape or twists.
Oh. So what do you have?
Mine it twisted. Okay. And it was also in an S shape. So I had both. Just to give you an idea, an average spine is between 0 and 10 degrees curvature.
Okay.
So that's what they consider is normal. In fact, very few people have a completely straight spine. It's very rare. My top curve was 52 degrees, and the bottom one was 49.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So
you have you have incredible posture for someone who has that much of a curvature.
Well, I don't anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. So
okay.
So continuing down the road of my back history, my backstory.
Yes. Literally.
Basically, what the human body does is if your spine curves in the top, it will naturally curve the bottom one so that your head is always level. And that's just a cool human body thing. So basically, when I was 9, they told me that my curvature was bad enough that by the time I was completely done growing, they would need to operate on it.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's what ended up happening in my case, and I was extremely lucky. I was given the option that they could either fuse the entire thing with both curves, or they could fuse the top curve, so the top 11 of my vertebrae from T1 to T11, just fuse the top bit with the chance that the bottom curve would naturally straighten out to, again, keep your head level, right?
Right.
Or that they would have to go in and do it again, which came with an entire other list of risks and complications. So I chose to just get the top part done because I was like, you know what, I don't really want to be completely unable to move my upper body. And I was really lucky because if they would have fused one more vertebrae down, I wouldn't be able to bend sort of where your rib cage ends.
Really?
Which I can now because they stopped at 11. So yeah, so I got that fixed. When I found that out when I was 9, I stopped doing things that I like to do because I hurt all the time. I was sore, and basically, just to put it in perspective, if you envision your spine as an S, there is a concave area and there's a part that protrudes. The part where it's concave, your muscles are completely stretched in tension all the time, because they're not supposed to be stretched that far. And on the other side of the spine, all of those muscles are completely knotted and tensed up. So you just, it hurts if you stand, it hurts if you sit, it hurts if you lie down. You can't do anything for long periods of time. Like, it's just, you constantly have to change what you're doing. And that annoyed me so much, because I was so used to working hard and physically being capable, and not having that anymore was really hard to deal with. Even though I had done so many things growing up and I was introduced to so many different activities, that was my thing and that's what I wanted to do, and it just didn't happen. So that's why I had to stop. And I could have gone back to it if I wanted to. I chose not to, but I could have, I think.
Well, it's essentially you're describing like basically two different forces pulling you apart and pushing you together at the same time, and then to have almost your existence taken away from you. That's tough.
It is when you're that age.
Yeah.
Especially. You know, like when you're 9, 10, 11, 12, like you're figuring out who you are and you're figuring out your identity. And when every kid seems to have like a thing, you know, it's like, oh, I can't go to that slumber party because I have soccer. And everyone's like, oh, okay, I understand. You always have soccer because you're good at soccer. You know, like everybody had a thing. But what I've now realized is like my thing is understanding people and being able to connect with people. That's my thing. It's not an extracurricular. It's not measurable. You don't get a gold medal for being emotional. Like, it doesn't happen. But that's my thing. And I wish I could have understood and accepted that when I was younger. But that's something that isn't fostered in our society at all.
No. Oh, God,
at all.
No.
You know, and it comes up all the time that I'm an emotional person, and that's just who I am. And I don't deem that as a bad thing anymore at all. But it's just interesting to me, you know, growing up in places where...
Well, being emotionally aware is a healthy thing.
Yeah.
I think being an emotional person, and we would like, you know, if I caught you half an hour ago eating that blizzard going, this is beautiful, then that might be a bit much.
Yeah. So, it definitely taught me a lot about myself, that surgery, because I was always really independent. And not having independence for 6 months after that was really difficult. You know, like not being able to wash your own hair because you can't hold your arms above your head for longer than 30 seconds.
Didn't even think about that.
And like not being able to carry your backpack to school, not being able to open your own door to get into school, not being able to lift a salad bowl off the table to serve yourself, not being able to lift the dishwasher detergent out of the cupboard because it was too heavy, not being able to open the fridge, not being able to lift the milk out of the fridge, not being able to, like, the list goes on. And it's all these super simple things that you don't...
Getting dressed in the morning.
That you don't realize.
Yeah.
Until it's... I mean, the biggest thing, too, and so when I got my surgery, it was between grades 9 and 10. So basically the height of your hormones.
Wow. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Honestly, like, the hardest thing for me was I couldn't wear a bra because my bra strap rubbed on my scar.
Oh.
So it was going to high school, not being able to wear a bra as a grade 10 female.
Layers?
Yeah, lots of them. But I had my surgery right over the summer, right? So September comes around and it's like 20-something degrees in Vancouver. And I mean, like, the schools in Vancouver don't have heating and cooling because you don't need it in Vancouver, really. So, like, they have heating,
really.
but they don't have air conditioning.
Exactly.
So
they open a window and turn on a fan.
I remember sitting in my science class, and science was on the 3rd floor. I think it was biology, so it was so hot up there.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, I'm so glad I'm wearing a scarf. I love it. So, you know, like, it was hurdles like that. And now it was like, I could care less. Like, if that happened to me over again, whatever. Like, that's life. No one's going to be like, wow, she isn't wearing a bra because she has a giant cut down her spine. Like, no one's going to do that.
No.
But I don't know, I didn't realize that at the time, right? It was just, you're in a place when there's just constantly a lot of judgment coming at you very openly.
High school's a war zone.
Exactly. And I am a firm believer in there's the exact same amount of judgment on you throughout the rest of your life from people, but it isn't told to you all the time. You know?
Maybe.
Like, no one's going to realistically come up to you at the office and be like, you look stupid. But in grade 8, yeah.
Well, I mean, there was something that happened here at the office that you did tell me about that kind of sort of goes along the same line, but we're not, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you know Levi, ask her.
Yeah, exactly. Contact me.
Exactly. So to go from being this spitfire of a young woman to losing independence, then going through high school, and then deciding like I want to go into broadcasting, go to BCIT, and then picking Prince George.
Oh, I didn't pick Prince George. Prince George picked me.
Prince George picked you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happened. And here's why.
Okay.
So I had my heart set on Nova Scotia.
Wow.
For some reason, I don't know why. Like you can ask my parents. I've never been to Nova Scotia.
Where do you want to go? There.
I don't even know people in Nova Scotia. Like there's no connection there. Maybe that's what it is. I'm like, there's no family there. Yay! But yeah, I've never been there. But for some reason, there's everything about it that I feel like I would so deeply thrive in. So I wanted to move there from the time, like a long time. So that was my plan.
Okay.
Well, then all of a sudden you become an adult and you realize it's actually really expensive to move across the country, and you're like, well, shoot, I'm a student. I don't have money. What is this money thing? So
I get allowances.
Yeah, so I started looking so when I was in BCIT, it's a 2-year diploma program, and in the second year you have your 2 semesters, and in your second semester you can choose to co-op out of the program if you find a full-time paying position in the industry and the position is okayed by our program head.
Okay.
Now, I wanted to get out as soon as possible. So I was like counting down the days until second semester, and I was like, okay.
Boy, it sounds like a wonderful class.
Yeah, it's just not even going to go into that. I haven't graduated yet. Okay. So I got the BCIT program is wonderful.
Yes, it is. Beautiful, incredible.
As I'm wearing my BCIT sweater.
World renowned.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted to co-op out really, really badly.
Okay.
So I started looking for jobs. And as I think in most industries, you need like 10 plus years of experience. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So if I have 10 years of experience, I would have been broadcasting since I was 9, so no. And I was getting really frustrated because all the jobs that I wanted, you needed like years. It wasn't even a matter of having like a communications degree, a marketing degree,
2
like
years, 5 years,
it wasn't things that you could just go
years.
get.
Yeah.
It was like, no, you just need to age.
You need to ripen.
I can't just age on demand here, people.
Yeah.
So I was just applying for stuff anyways because my teachers in my program always just explained, like, yeah, you know what, they might put 10 years of experience, but if you're the person they're looking for, they're not going to care if you have 10 plus years.
This is
so
true.
I was like, okay. I have family here, so I have an aunt and an uncle and my 2 little cousins. And it soon became very apparent that if I wanted to move away, which I did, I would have to move somewhere that had somewhere that I could stay for a little bit. Just until I got on my feet.
Generally smart.
This all happened at the very convenient time of I had just paid my tuition. So I I was working full time and I was going to school full time, but the working full time paid for the school full time, so there wasn't that much left over, right?
Right.
And I'm somebody who really doesn't like to live with the stress of feeling like I don't have money, like just in case of like an emergency or something like that gives me a ton of anxiety. So I was like, okay, I'm going to need some buffer. Like I'm going to need somewhere that I can stay until I figure out my life, until I've never lived on my own. So we're going to need to figure out how to adult, like being grown up 101.
Yeah.
So that limited me in the places that I could go. So Nova Scotia got taken off the table pretty quick for this phase of my life. So I had to look at places where I have family. So that was basically all of Alberta. Here are Kamloops. I emailed a bunch of people in Kamloops. And the other thing too, if you don't co-op out of the program, you need to find an internship for the month of May. So I was basically, and they're hard to find, which it shouldn't be, but it is. If you're listening to this and you are a PD in radio, like just know that there are kids from BCIT that are desperately wanting to work for you for free. So just like contact BCIT and be like, I want your kids.
Maybe not specifically that, but
I want your kids for free.
You're not helping.
So I was basically going with the approach of if there wasn't a job that I was going to apply for, I was just going to email asking if I could do an internship.
Right.
So I was emailing people and I was like, yo, can I come there, please?
Yeah.
For free? If I emphasize you don't need to pay me anything. And they were basically saying like, yeah, you can come between June and July. And I was like, nope.
No, I can't.
I'm going to need you to just bump that to May. And it was really, really discouraging. And then I emailed Penny, who works here, basically saying, hey, please, 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 please. She was like, okay, like send me your stuff, send me your resume, send me your demo, send me everything that you've like ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, did you email Penny like specifically, not knowing of a position here, just knowing
yes,
that
exactly.
you had family in Prince George?
Exactly. And my aunt actually knows somebody who used to work here, and so
Who's that?
Kat McKenson.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So she basically was like, yeah, great place to work. You should tell your niece that if she wants to, like, this would be an interesting place to investigate.
Yeah.
So originally I was looking for an internship in the news department, and I emailed Dave Barry a couple of times. He still hasn't responded.
Oh my God.
I haven't.
Just walk down the hall, tap him on.
I haven't brought it up yet because there's a few times that I've emailed him since then that he's responded to those ones. I don't know. I think he's just.
Email doesn't.
He's just playing it cool.
We've gone over that.
Yeah, so I left that, and then I emailed Penny. So I sent her everything I've ever done. She responded and was like, hey, we have this part-time position that we haven't even formally posted. Do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, because I'm not giving up my diploma for a part-time gig in northern BC. Not happening, sorry.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, fair enough. But I'm also looking for a promotions assistant. And she was like, what I can tell from your resume and from your demo is that you have experience in literally everything. And I was like, yeah, it's not extensive experience, but yeah, I've dipped my toes in a little bit, tested the waters.
Yes. Try this. No.
Exactly.
But I tried it.
Exactly. So basically, her and Mike were like, okay, let's combine these 2 part-time gigs into 1 full-time gig. 2 weeks later, I was in Prince George.
Wow. Was
Yeah.
that like? Did it has it hit you yet? That one moment of like, what the hell am I doing here?
No. You know what? I did call my mom crying one time, just once.
Yeah.
So basically, to give you some context about me, I am very much a city chick.
Coming from Vancouver.
The only way I can explain it
Yeah.
is I'm a huge fan of like happy hours. Why don't we have those here?
They're few and far between.
We got to get that rolling. I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a huge fan of busy streets. I love downtown in Vancouver. Like, I love it. That's where I worked for so long. I worked in a super busy, well-known Vancouver restaurant. And so I feed off that.
Yeah.
And I drive a Fiat.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew this about Prince George, but like I'm pretty sure I'm the only Fiat here.
Pretty sure.
With the exception of one that I saw the other day that had an Alberta license plate, and I was like, you're not even from here. So I'm very much a city girl stuck in Prince George. But I called my mom crying once because on our drive up here, my 6'4" father came with me on the drive up in my Fiat with hypothetically all of my life's belongings in the back of it. It wasn't actually all of my life's belongings because I'm a city chick and I own a lot of clothing. So I didn't fit everything.
Essentials.
Yeah, so like I have this lamp that I really like that I didn't bring. I didn't bring my rubber boots. I didn't bring like just random stuff that while I was packing my car at 5 in the morning when we were about to leave, I was like, just throw it in, it's fine. Like I won't need it, it's okay. And I got here and I was like, I really wish I had this, or I wish I had this. So I called my mom and I was like, Mom, it turns out I'm materialistic. I need these things. And she was like, Levi, this is ridiculous. Like, compose yourself. Yeah, but just stuff like that. Like it was honestly the weirdest part about moving up here was like, yeah, I know my family that lives up here. I know them a lot better now. But I wouldn't say like I knew them on like a personal level. They're family because they're family. Yeah. Right? That's it.
The people that you meet at like giant family gatherings and occasions.
Yeah, like
hey,
maybe see them once a year, maybe.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, my aunt and my mom talk on the phone a lot, but like I was fairly removed from that and they knew me from when I was little.
Right.
So I moved up here and I just moved in with somebody, like just a family.
Yeah.
You know, and they have their ways and they have their ways of doing things and they have their way of loading the dishwasher. And I don't load the dishwasher the same way. But that was really weird because I was with family who have been absolutely incredible as far as welcoming me into their home, like just beyond wonderful. And they have 2 kids of their own. They're 10 and 12 and they're an incredibly busy family. And like they're rarely home because they're always out doing things, and the fact that they were willing to add me on top of that, I'm pretty self-sufficient, but still having somebody else staying in your house, right? Yeah, has been amazing, and it's been really cool to get to know them better. Yeah. So I'm really glad that happened.
What about the work environment? I mean, because this is like this has got to be a step away from what you're used to. And from what I recall, what you're used to is the restaurant industry, the service industry.
So, again, to give some context, back home I was working full-time. So I was working whatever 3 to 5 shifts a week. And then I was also going to school full-time. And that didn't really leave a lot of time at all for anything else. So I was really used to being busy constantly busy, like no time to get sick, no time to do anything. And I was used to working at Joe Forte's, which if you know Joe Forte's, we're infamous for having lineups that go around the corner of the block. So
really?
I was used to running that lineup. Like I was used to telling people the spiel over and over and over again. I was used to it being fast paced. I was used to it being quick. I was used to working 9-hour shifts without a break, because in the restaurant industry, that's what you do. Yeah. So like my first day here, someone was like, "Go for lunch," and I was like, "What?
What is this?"
But I'm not.
Lunch.
I'm not about to faint from being starving yet. You mean I can eat now?
It's
like
structured?
As a precaution?
I get a break?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, I'll go shovel some food in my mouth in the back and come right back to my desk. So yeah, that's been weird. The other thing too is like, this sounds really weird, and this is just, I want to say, a restaurant industry thing overall. People have been here for a long time. They know the studio, they know the building in and out, they know everybody in the building, they know their spouses, they know they know everything about everything. Yeah. And in the restaurant industry, the turnover is really quick a lot of the times. Now at the restaurants that I worked at, people had been there for 30 years. People had been serving and had put all 3 of their children through university off of serving there.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So it was different in that sense, but here that similarity was the same. So
there's already a core group of people.
Yeah. And I mean, here it's different because there aren't as many people, I want to say, that are like in my natural demographic. Like I have no issue being friends and stuff with people who aren't 19. I have no issue with that. That's actually usually what ends up happening. And
the reason why you have no issue with that is because we haven't clarified this. You're 19 years old.
I'm 19 years old. Yeah, so like that's never been an issue for me. I've always been friends with people that are older than me because I just find I get along with them better. But I find a lot of times it's really weird for other people. And so that was part of what I was nervous about coming here, actually, was that I was just going to be like the kid.
The kid?
The kid.
I could tell you the first time I met you, and it was like the first weekend that you and I worked together when we were dealing with that clusterfuck of the media touch systems and your recordings.
Love MTS.
Oh my God. Because the simple backstory of what I'm referring to is that there was a system put in place when the person that had your position was here. And then when he stepped away, Tyler, Jessica Williams and myself came in and we were thrown into that system. And then unbeknownst to us, when you came in, they changed the system. Yeah. And hence, like, it was like, this doesn't make sense. What's going on here? And then you and I sat down and you wrote down an incredible amount of notes.
Thank you.
Color coordinated.
I'm a student. What can I say?
It was beautiful. And we dealt with that. But I remember the first time that I saw you in a meeting, didn't really have a chance to talk to you, but that first weekend that we worked together, never would have pegged you for being in your teens, let alone 19 years old. No. But you have this presence and energy of someone who's like way more mature than they should be.
Yeah.
And you really got your head on straight. So for you to come in here, I think you're like a wonderful fit. Like I've heard nothing but incredible things and wonderful things, and Levi's done this, and always she's posting this, and she's great to work with, and she said the weirdest thing, and it was just hilarious. And just before we sat down and recorded this, you're like doing this triple dog dare on the water cooler.
Yeah.
I have to figure out what to do with that video. But like, you're fun, you're lighthearted, but at the same time, I mean, you got your shit together better than people my age.
Thing you.
And it's like, I think it's a credit to like not just who you are, but your upbringing as well.
Absolutely.
I like, you're the third person I've brought this up with you. You're the third person I know that has been homeschooled, and you far exceed the best of the other two. The other person, who's a wonderful woman. Her name is Angel. She runs her own dance school here in Prince George. Very successful.
Yeah.
and like a community body, a great spirit, a wonderful person, a positive influence, has helped so many people. And like you're way more put together than she is. And then the other person, great guy, but when I met him, he was like 21 years old, and he still wrote like someone who was in grade 2.
Yeah.
Right? So a vast difference.
Yeah.
Right? You and your mother, like your mother gave up work to teach you.
Yeah. She gave up everything that she had worked for.
That in itself is incredible.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to me because I think there's an entire different value on education when you have a teacher who genuinely cares about your future. And I mean, I had a couple high school teachers who made the world of a difference to me.
Can you name them?
I can. Michelle Workman.
Yeah.
Oh, man. She was just a delight.
Yeah?
Just an inspiring delight.
What did she teach?
She taught English and she taught theater. So naturally, her and I were like, hey. But and my other teacher, who actually terrified me for the first, 4 years of high school, like terrified me. So his name is Norm Nichols.
Okay.
And I want you to envision Santa,
Okay.
but taller and not wearing a fun red costume.
Okay.
And they had to put him in a classroom that is so far off to the side because he yells. That's all. He teaches his entire class while yelling. He's just a loud, boisterous guy. And my locker was by his classroom for a while, and I was just so scared. Like, whenever the bell rang, he would go out in the hallway and, like, yell at people to get to class faster, and I was just like, I'm sorry, sir. Like, he was just so boisterous, you know? And he was just so, like, loud, booming, deep voice that, like, rung through the halls, and he was just terrifying. He knows more about history than anybody I've ever met. He can just not even just name events, but know the name of a sergeant and know the name of whatever somebody from World War II that
was critical in a battle and a commanding officer.
Exactly, it's crazy. And the thing that I really liked about his teaching method was he wasn't going to go out of his way to teach you if you didn't want to be taught. Oh. So if you didn't want to do the homework, that's fine. You can get a 0. It's not going to be a big song and dance. It's okay. If you wanted to not study for a test, yeah, you know what? That's your own problem. So there was no second reminder about tests coming up. There was no second reminder about homework. There was no, what's your excuse for not having your homework done? There was none of that. You know, there was none of that bullshit. It was, he was going to teach his class, and if you wanted to listen, then you could. And, you know, it's interesting because I took Law 12 from him. And I also took, you know what? It's History 11, I think. Yeah. Okay. And
that's an elective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the first person to, so I grew up in Vancouver, right?
Yeah.
And the P&E, Pacific, whatever, exhibition grounds thing with the roller coaster.
We call it the P&E.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know this, but it was a Japanese internment camp during the Second World War.
No.
Yep. So the horse stables that are there for racing, that's where they kept everyone.
What?
Yes. I shit you not.
Okay.
So I had no idea. Like, my house in North Vancouver overlooked the P&E across the water. I had no clue. Nobody has any clue. And so he brought that up once very discreetly because it's not part of the curriculum. He doesn't have to teach it. But he brought it up because it was like a side note in a textbook. And for some reason, that just like haunted me.
He brought up a side note. It's like, oh, by the way.
Pretty much. And it was like, yeah. And there was an internment camp. And if you have any questions, talk to me after class. And it moved on. And I was like, Norm? What the heck, man? Like, what?
You can't just drop a bomb and walk away.
So then, of course, after class, I was like, yo, buddy, give me the details. And I started doing a bunch of research on it. And the thing that really intrigued me about it was that this affected thousands of people.
Yeah.
And there is no real memorial on the actual grounds. In public sight. There is one. But,
there is one.
But nobody actually goes there in that part of the grounds, right? Like, it's not beside the wooden roller coaster. It's not near the P&E. When you're in the P&E, you'd have no idea. So I ended up in BCIT making a podcast about a woman named Mary O'Hara. So I interviewed this woman named Mary O'Hara, and she's the last survivor in Vancouver to have lived through the internment camp. And so basically this was like, it was crazy. It was one of the most empowering experiences I ever had. So I heard about this internment camp years before. And then I was in BCIT, and we had to do a historical podcast. And everyone was like, oh, I'm going to do it on the Lionsgate Bridge. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And then all of a sudden, I was like, internment camp. How's nobody done a podcast on the internment camp yet? So I started searching for like people who have actually lived through it. And the only person I could come up with was Mary O'Hara, who was previously interviewed in 2013 by one of the papers.
That's it.
And nobody had talked to her since.
Okay.
That I know of, at least that was on record, right? So
Right.
I tried to contact her, and she was living in a home, and I ended up getting contact with her through the Canadian Japanese Heritage Society. So they were like, yeah, if you're going to talk to anybody, try and talk to Mary, but she's not very good with technology. So it might be a bit of a task getting a hold of her. So I called, I left her a voicemail, tried emailing her, didn't get anything. And then one day I checked my phone, and I had a voicemail from an unknown number. And it was from her. And it was just like the most soft-spoken voice saying, yep, if you want to come see me, you can. So I go to her apartment. This is the first interview I've ever done with anybody. Why I picked such a heavy topic, don't know.
This kind of sounds like Levi
like
right
an
here.
interview about, like, I don't know, your favorite color or something. So I show up to her home, and they let me in, and I had to sign in and everything. And went up with her and sat down at her very small dining room table in her very small apartment. And I was so nervous. Like, I'm pretty sure I sweat through my whole shirt. Because I didn't feel, honestly, like I was worthy to be talking to this woman. I was like, you have this incredible, profound story, and I'm a student trying to complete a project for Marks, and I don't even know where to begin with this. So I asked her. I was just like, so, how exactly did you end up there?
It's a good opening.
Well, it's not really.
Well, no.
It's a little bit open.
It is.
That was enough for her to just tell me everything. It
Yeah.
was crazy. And she had grown up on Vancouver Island in a small town, and she started talking about how her life changed when the Japanese people were deemed enemy aliens, and how different school was for her after that. And then they weren't allowed to go to school anymore. And then they moved to Vancouver, which was basically like their promise of hope and change, and they ended up in this internment camp where I believe it was her sister ended up trying to deliver a baby there. Like, it was just like this ongoing story, and she was separated like from her family. And the part that was so touching for me, and that just really brought things into perspective, like, this is a woman who's just sitting there. She'd never met me before, sitting across a table just like you and I are right now. And she was telling me about how her father had passed away in this camp, and she remembers very, very vividly they burned him and they kept his ashes in a coffee tin.
Wow.
And she was just telling me this, like, it was just like going to the grocery store, and she was just talking just about it being her past, you know. And it was, honestly, it was at that point that I was like, there are so many stories that I think that just need to be told, but nobody ever asks to hear them.
That's actually probably the reason why she was telling you the story, because
Yeah.
someone was willing to listen.
Yeah. So I made that podcast about her, and I only ended up doing like a minute worth because that was how long we could for school, and I still have all the original sound files, and I actually need to produce it into like its full entirety.
Yeah.
But just such a humbling experience, and it was all because of that one teacher in high school who used to terrify the and
Dropped the bomb, walked away, you went, yo!
exactly. And so those were, I want to say, my two teachers that were really influential. But going back to the original question or statement or whatever, I felt like I had to learn a lot because my mom dropped everything to be able to teach me. So school was never a joke. School was never anything that you missed. That it was all based off of respect. So the dynamic that I had with my mom really transferred into school for me.
And
you
your
know?
work ethic.
And I was never late for class, and I never missed a class unless I was sick. And I couldn't. It's not in me.
I would imagine you being sick would be like deathbed sick.
Well, yeah, you know, when your mom's a nurse, like if you're not,
God.
if you're not actively vomiting, Well, actually, if you're actively vomiting, you just bring a bag to school with you. I'm just kidding. Mom, I'm sorry. There was actually one time. So I'm a fainter.
Oh, no.
Yeah. To add to this list of dilemmas, I'm a fainter. And one day before I believe it was actually my first provincial exam, about an hour before, I fainted.
Oh.
Yeah. And it takes a little while to sort of pick yourself up after fainting, literally. My mom was like, okay, we're going to contact your teacher, whatever. And I was like, no, I'm going. So my mom walks me into the school and has a word with my teacher and is like, if she needs to get up or like if she looks like she's glazing over, like just lie her down.
Yeah.
Just lie her down.
Yeah.
And because, of course, fainting is an entire other issue because of my back, right? Because if my body just completely crumbles, I can't brace it in any way. So it's sort of that extra risk factor. But so I went and I wrote this exam, and I remember feeling so gross. And I never really missed a lot of school. I tried to ditch once.
Tried to.
And then halfway through the class, I walked in and was like, I'm sorry. God, stupid idea.
That's hilarious.
I would be the worst religious person ever. Or like the best, because I would go to like repent for my sins, and I would just be like, I'm so sorry. God, I really screwed up.
I took an extra chocolate bar. Like, that's not a sin.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Honest to a fault.
Yeah.
Back in the only relation I have there is back in high school. I didn't skip at all. Primarily because my dad terrified me. But the one time I skipped a class by accident, and it just so happened to be the one class that I disliked the most. Yeah. A buddy of mine, his name was John. He's like, "Hey, let's go out. We'll go out for lunch." I said, "Okay, cool." So we go out for lunch, and then as we go out for lunch, he's like, "Hey, we'll go to this restaurant. It's like across town." Like, okay, fine. Living in Abbotsford, across town is not that big of a deal.
Right.
We get across town, park the vehicle, go inside, grab what we want, come back with our food in our hands, and then go into the vehicle. Vehicle died right there, just would not start.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we're like, what do you want to do? And John didn't give a crap. He's like, well, whatever, I live over there, so I could just walk home. But
I don't.
But class, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, it just so happened that the hour that it took me to get back was the one class I disliked the most, but I made it in time for the class I liked the most, which was television film production.
Right.
Right. So my dad, word got out that because the secretary noticed that there was an absentee, but I showed up to the next class. So there was a note or a message or something like that was sent to my father saying, JD missed this class on purpose, blah, 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 blah. And my dad's like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, what? I told him the whole story. He goes, but it happened to be this class? I went, well, yeah, I guess. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
And he kind of looked at me.
I wish I planned it that way, but I didn't.
Yeah, he kind of looked at me and said, why don't you just drop the class?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's an idea. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was like the one and only time, because the rest of the time, like high school was moderately tough for me. Mm-hmm. Grade 8 and grade 9, I got picked on mercilessly.
Yeah.
I was like, acne was starting to hit me. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to brush my hair properly. Deodorant was new.
Yeah.
It was bad, right? My dad's secondhand hand-me-down clothing. I was wearing T-shirts that no one understood. What the hell's the Grateful Dead?
Yeah.
Why were you grateful? Crap like that, right?
Yeah.
And then grade 10 for me, I lucked out and just fell ass backwards into the popular clique. Mm-hmm. And that was because it was grade 10 history class, and I just so happened to be sitting beside this guy who was like 6'2", just a giant monster of a man. Mm-hmm. In grade 10. And someone made a comment it clicked in my mind, and I made a joke concerning Beavis and Butthead, and that giant of a man laughed, and I looked over, he's wearing a Beavis and Butthead T-shirt, and he's like, hey, you're
bonding moment.
Exactly, you're pretty cool. I should introduce you to my friends. Well, it turns out that guy was the captain of the basketball team,
right?
Who introduced me to the captain of the football team and the rugby team.
Set.
I was in.
Yeah.
So, like grade 8, grade 9, like I said, picked on mercilessly, and then grade 10, just like just happenstance, just fell into popularity.
Right.
Right.
That's crazy.
I know. Yeah. now I'm here trying to be a part of the spotlight and being in radio.
Yeah. Exactly.
What's the end goal for Levi in broadcast? You want to go to Nova Scotia. That's got to be still on the list.
Yeah, I also really want to be a train conductor. So
What?
Yeah, seriously. So I was at BCIT, right? And I
Yeah.
was doing this course fair, basically. So it was like every program was set up in this big room, and people could, like, an info session.
Okay.
And we were right beside the train conductor course. And this old man was like, have you ever considered train conducting? And I was like, why would I ever do that? And he was like, well, because as a woman, 1, you get insane benefits. 2, you get a really, really great retirement plan. And you also would have no issue getting a job because they will educate you at CN Rail because they don't have enough women and they need to diversify their workforce. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Tell me more. And then, and then he was talking about wage and how you get paid to go to school with CN Rail. And then, anyways, so long story short, that's on my bucket list is to work there.
I guess there's never a time limit on that.
Well, I think I'm going to be a woman for a while. So I think, I don't know. We'll see.
Way to hit that home.
Yeah. But I wanted to do a podcast about what it's like to work for the railway in 2017. I mean, the railway is such a huge part of Canadian history.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I don't think we, as a culture, it's not in the spotlight anymore. You know, it gets things from point A to point B, but like...
Well, we look at this whenever we're here. We see the train yard.
We see it,
yes.
But do we know the people who work there?
No.
Exactly. And all those people have families, and all of those people have stories, and all of those people ended up there for whatever reason, whether it was for the money or because that's what they grew up knowing or whatever. So I wanted to produce a podcast about that. So there's that goal. Then I sort of do want to get more experience in the news segment of things. I've always wanted to be a TV news anchor. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting because all of my goals that I've ever had have been so scattered and not something that makes sense to go with the other goals. So they're just all over the map. I'm all over the map. I really want to open up a food truck at some point. Like, there's so many things. Like, I don't want to just pick 2.
You're going to be versatile. But then again, like, I'm not one to really laugh. You should see my resume. It's retarded.
Exactly. Like, if I were to, honestly, ideally, if I could move to Nova Scotia, do news anchoring in the evenings. Like, I don't necessarily want to go and get the stories in my dream ideal thing. But if I could do the evening news during the day, work owning a food truck, and then on weekends working
play with
trains.
trains.
That'd be sweet. I mean, the thing is I don't have a phobia of being busy. I don't. It's all I've ever known. So I don't really know what to do with free time. So, for example, when I moved up here and I had free time, well, what did I do? I made like 7 loaves of banana bread because I didn't know what else to do.
And you didn't bring any in?
No.
What the hell?
I know, I'm a jerk. No, I didn't like anybody enough then at that point. You weren't deserving of my bread. But
I'm sorry I gave you all the wrong information. You wrote out all those notes.
Yeah, I know,
I'm
I know.
sorry. Can I have banana bread now?
Yeah, next time I make some. I've already promised it to other people around the station too, so I'll have to make a bunch.
Oh boy.
I make good banana bread.
I believe it.
Brace yourself. I also make insanely good scrambled eggs apparently, but that's a harder one to bring in.
I think so.
Would you like some of these? They're cold.
Just nuke them. It's okay.
I also really wanted to be a flight attendant for a long time.
Yeah?
But then I realized that if you're a flight attendant, you're on a plane a lot. And that really increases your chances of something going wrong in a plane, which is like my biggest fear.
That's Levi has a phobia.
Out of all transportation hazards, planes, man.
You know, statistically the safest things, but realistically, you are absolutely at the mercy. You're absolutely at the mercy of the situation with no control.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, you can't just pull out a life raft on a plane.
Well, you could, but it's not going to do you any good.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's tons of things I would love to try.
Yeah.
I also think I would be an amazing high school counselor, but I also don't know if I could put up with high schoolers. Who knows? There's tons of stuff I want to do, and to be completely honest, my generation is built for trying new things. So if that means that I'm at the bottom of the pyramid everywhere I go because I'm always a new person, then that's what it means. But for now, I mean, I like Prince George. The option of going back to school is always there. I would love to get my communication degree within the next 5 years. Whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. I would like to get it at some point, whether it's through night school or whatever, but I haven't decided.
Things that Levi won't do.
Oh, that's a long list.
Give me the highlights.
What won't you do? Wow.
Well, I just got to say, like, we've been at this for an hour now.
Wow.
And
I have something in my eye. I think you can hear it blink. Ready? Maybe not.
maybe not.
Anyway, sorry. We've been at this in an hour.
It'll come up in the editing. We've been
Yeah.
at this at an hour, and
Yeah.
you are incredibly intriguing.
Thank you. Things I won't do, I have to think.
Yes.
I will never, ever eat a salad made out of kale. I hate the consistency of kale.
Okay.
Like, it's it's a leaf. You know, it's not even like it's a supple leaf. It's like if you were to take a maple leaf
Yes.
and put balsamic reduction on it, like, there you go, kale salad. No! One thing I really don't miss about Vancouver are all, like, the vegans. Like, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against no animal cruelty and everything, but, like, one, you're not healthy if you only eat crackers.
Yeah.
Like, just because you're vegan and you only eat that's like a whole other rant. But, so yeah, I will never be vegan.
Okay.
I'm thinking you meant big scale things, not culinary.
No. I'm just curious now.
Ooh, things I will never. Oh, bungee jumping. I'm not medically allowed to do. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
Skydiving.
Take it or leave it. I would if the opportunity came up, but I'm not gonna go and seek it out. Like, I would never go and be like, I want to pay to do skydiving. But if somebody else was like, here's this coupon for free skydiving, I'd be like, yeah, okay, cool.
Race car driving.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom drives a Subaru STI. Why would you name a car an STI? Because this was the awkward situation. So my dad, we had a bunch of vehicles for a while.
Okay.
So my dad owns his own company. He has a bunch of Sprinter vans, like, you know, like the big.
Yep.
So he has a bunch of those for the company, and then he has a smart car to drive around for work. Keep in mind, he's 6'4". It's hilarious. And then we used to have an SUV, and then I drove my car. And we got rid of the SUV when our dog passed away.
Okay.
Because we didn't need a big SUV when we didn't have a dog. So whatever.
Right.
So then we sold that, and then my mom still needed a car that she could drive. So then my dad knew that she had always loved the Subaru. So my dad bought my mom a Subaru STI. So my dad indirectly gave my mom an STI. So, nice. Yeah. So, like, she drives that, and that thing has power.
I believe it.
Yeah, so that's fun. I would like, you know what? I do really like go-karts. I love go-karts. I love them. What else is on that list?
I don't know. I
Crazy
can
things.
tell you that there's like 2 go-kart tracks in Prince George.
Sweet.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of things else I will never, ever do. Like, what are things that I would never do?
What about along the lines of what we do here in a broadcast world? Like, there's a lot of things that I'm willing to do.
Engineering.
Engineering.
I would never be an engineer.
Like Ryan over there in that room.
So much respect for what they do. So much respect. All they do is sort out problems.
They're problem solvers, troubleshooters.
Yeah, I'm not a troubleshooter.
No?
No. If I can't figure it out within 3 tries, it's broken and it's done. Like, if I can't call Apple support and they can't give me a 1-word answer as to how to fix it, don't need a phone.
Send it back.
Yeah, exactly. Forget it. I'll just use pigeons to communicate instead.
Smoke signals.
Exactly. Flares and stuff. I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, otherwise, totally, like, I would love to, within my job, I would love to have weekends off, first of all.
You and me both.
I'm in my ideal world. I've been working weekends since I was in grade 8, and I'm over it. But at the same time, I'm used to it, so it's good. And I love what I do now.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
In my ideal world, I'd work like normal people hours, Monday to Friday.
But that's boring.
But I would love to do something in every department every day. So whether that was like co-hosting the morning show and then working in promo for the afternoon, and then after that doing the evening news, and then whatever, like and writing ads and creative. Like I would love to have a little bit of everything. So yeah, in answer to that question, the only thing I wouldn't do is engineering.
Fair enough.
I would get fed up and I'd be like, oh, your computer's making a noise? That sucks.
Yeah, send it back.
Just cover your ears.
Cover your ears.
Yeah, that's it.
What do you got going on for social media?
Okay, I love Instagram.
Okay.
I am a total 19-year-old girl when it comes to Instagram. Like, beware, there are selfies.
I don't know.
Although I'm doing no selfie March.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was really interesting. So I produced a video last year called Mother Knows Best, which I know you saw.
Yes, I did.
And it's posted up on YouTube, and it's also scattered throughout my Facebook. I've posted it a few times, but it basically delves into the story about the relationship between my mom and I, which is sort of unique for a plethora of reasons. But it mainly talks about an eating disorder that my mom had for a lot of her life. So she was bulimic, and so the story talks about how she lived her life being bulimic and then faced the ultimate scary situation as somebody who was bulimic, and she had a daughter. So I produced that. Anyways, where was I going with that? Oh, right. So my mom is like she's like the most accepting woman I've ever met in my life, and so she's very she hates when I post like pictures of myself online because she's like, Levi, that doesn't show your internal beauty. I'm like, yes, Mom, I know. Like, my hair looked great today.
I just checked your Instagram, by the way, and the last time you did a selfie was Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did on Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Oh, Valentine's Day was weird this year. Anyways, going back to those dating stories we were talking about this morning on the drive.
You know what? You're coming back for another episode of the Flipside. We'll cover that later.
What was I going to say? Oh, right. So I'm doing No Selfie March because somebody actually in this building was like, why? Oh, I was asking them. I was like, okay, out of these two selfies, which one should I post? And they were like, why do you have to post a selfie at all? And I was like, that's a really valid question. Like, why would you even post a selfie at all? And so I've sort of started this interesting experiment with myself of not feeling obligated to, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm really digging it. It's weird because selfies always, like, it's just a statistically well-known fact that pictures of yourself on the internet get more likes than pictures of not yourself.
True.
It's just a thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like the matter of posting something because I found it interesting or I liked it or whatever, not based off the fact that it would get more likes. So growing up in social media, these are things that you must think of. Anyways, so yes, I have Instagram. I love Instagram. My name is Levi P. What is it? Oh, it's Levi P. Sinclair. So Levi, the letter P, Sinclair. I'm on Facebook. I rarely use Facebook.
Yeah.
All I use it for is watching really stupid videos.
That's what I use YouTube for.
Yeah, that's about it. Oh, I can't even go into YouTube because I get stuck. I don't use Twitter. People keep telling me if you work in media, you gotta use Twitter. I really dislike Twitter.
You know what? For as long as I have been in media,
Yeah.
Twitter is a tool of
Like
media.
I know how to use it like for work.
Yeah.
Personally, meh. Here's my issue. I like to talk. So only having a couple characters to talk in.
140?
What? Yeah, then I have to like write 7 tweets being like series 1 of 5, you know? Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, basically Instagram is all I use. I use Snapchat too, but you gotta be BFFs with me to be on Snapchat. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe not BFFs, maybe more just like friends. Or just like acquaintances.
Just somewhere above
like
acquaintance.
Like I have to know your name if I see you at a grocery store. That's how.
And not have to like dive down another alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about the fact that you did a podcast or you try to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Is there an actual Levi Sinclair podcast that exists out there?
Like one that I made or one that I'm in?
One that is active?
No.
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 Would there be?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's honestly just a matter of actually utilizing my free time for something productive. So like right now, I've been sort of caught in this frenzy over the past month of getting my first apartment.
Yeah.
So I've just been accumulating shit for my apartment, and it's been so much fun. I love it. I have like become the DIY queen. Like I am spray painting stuff left, right, and center. I'm like reupholstering with like my staple gun. It's like, yeah, it's been great. So I am somebody who, when I start something, I do it, and that's like the only thing I do for a long time, and then I drop it completely and I go on to something else. So like I have tons of podcasts that I've started. I just haven't done them. Yeah. So
I think we should work on that.
I know we should. Especially since I have access to all the equipment here, right? I mean, like, it sucked at school because our equipment wasn't the best, and it was broken all the time, and, yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
So
I hear you.
it was kind of demotivating. Unmotivating? Demotivating.
Unmotivating.
I was not motivated. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I was,
Just, yeah, I could do it, but that
Wasn't
means I have to
happening.
deal with this
On a scale
crap.
from 1 to 10, it was like a meh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
No, I hear you. As an example, on the Drive YouTube page, there are 3 live on the Drive in studio performances, right? All 3 of them were edited by myself, but they weren't edited in house.
Right.
I took them home onto my own computer in my
Yeah.
own time and
Yeah.
did it there, right? Because I know my tower, I know my computer, and I know that my computer is even better than what we're using right now.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, like if I'm going to do a project on my own, I'd rather like take it home.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I know my crap works.
I do that with all my video editing stuff. Like with, well, I've only done one that's been posted so far, the stuff that I've been doing with the SPCA.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do that all at home because I can't edit on I can't do it on a PC. I'm an Apple girl.
Oh, you're an Apple girl?
I'm totally an Apple girl.
Do you have an iPhone?
Of course.
Oh. Okay. Oh, God.
So disappointed.
Here I
Levi.
had such high hopes
Levi,
for
you were so cool until this very moment. You know what? You should put that at the beginning of the podcast so people can just like tune out immediately. They can just be like,
she's an
screw
Apple
it."
girl.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Before we go,
To move a desk.
yeah, to move a desk. Before we go, I just wanted to touch on the fact that the video that you created about you and your mother and that incredible relationship has a very, very inspiring story behind it and a very inspiring message.
Thank you.
Behind it. Having said that, though, it is very hard for anyone to not notice your physical beauty. You are a stunning young woman. And also the fact that you have told me a couple of stories of the fact that you're like, Mom, put down the damn camera. Because your mom would take photos and be like telling you like, okay, how about you go over there and then do this and blah, 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 which can be a bit of a frustrating thing at the same time. But having said that, is modeling something that is in your repertoire?
It's so funny that you ask that.
Of course it is.
I have done, I modeled for Mercedes-Benz once. I know what you're thinking. Oh, cool, badass cars. No, that's what I thought too, getting into it. It was weird. So basically I show up for this shoot and it was for, I now know, Mercedes-Benz Young Driver Academy.
Oh.
If you look it up, I'm not sure if my photo's still in their pamphlet. I am basically, there's one where I'm in a fedora, first of all. So there's just nothing sexy about a fedora.
Okay, well, depends. Depends.
Does it?
That depends.
Okay.
Each their own.
Fair enough. Are you looking?
I am looking it up.
Okay. And then it was very strange. So like in my mind, I was like, cool, Mercedes-Benz. Like I was expecting like black dress being like, hey, this is my car.
Okay.
And it turned into like, yay, I got a car. So yeah, so I did that once for Mercedes-Benz. Other than that, there was a jewelry company that I did like a little thing with, and like that's it.
Okay, so why is it so humorous that I bring up modeling?
Because I get asked that a lot.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but every time somebody asks me that and I say like, no, not really. And they're like, why? It's like, well, honestly, because I would have a really hard time getting paid for what I look like when there is so much more to me than that.
That was the message behind the video.
And to be honest, the only reason I haven't pursued it is because I don't want to tell people that I model, because it further classifies me into the stereotype of which I fall into, that I have tried so hard to break with so many other things. So...
Well, the reason why I bring it up is because of the video, right? Like, I'm going to have to send a link.
Yeah,
I'm definitely
do.
attaching a link to the video
Please
because after this interview, after this podcast, you have to watch the video to understand why I bring up this topic.
Yeah.
Because the message in that video is you are more than just the physical appearance of yourself.
Exactly.
And you have to believe that and also help other people acknowledge and believe that as well.
And that was the biggest thing for me making that video was it's you know what, people can talk about love yourself as much as you want, and you know what, I have nothing against that message. In fact, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Because you have to love yourself, and that's the first step of feeling truly confident, and also for other people to love you. I mean, I said it a couple times, and I still can't really decide how I feel about it, but I think I like it. Like, how is it that you can expect anybody else to love you if you can't even love yourself?
It's
right.
It's a true statement.
And it's interesting to me because I see this with young women all the time. Also, I used to work with young women after my back surgery, working with girls who were going through the same thing that I went through. And the most common thing that always got brought up was like, oh, but I don't want to have a scar. It's going to be so ugly and people are going to notice. And I just want to be like, okay, woman, like, listen to me here, kiddo.
Scar, humpback.
First of all, it's a conversation topic and a half.
Yeah.
There's been so many times that I
the hell was that?
I don't know. The ghosts. I own a lot of like low back shirts or low back dresses because I love my scar, and I've worn them out, whatever, to bars or something, and if I wear my hair up, then it's really obvious to see my scar. The amount of guys who have come up to me and been like, it's a pretty badass scar you got yourself there, little lady. I'm like, why are you so afraid to have a scar? No one's gonna be like, ew, that's gross. They're just gonna be like, oh, cool, tell me your story.
It's the myth and perception of perfection.
Yeah, and it's like this fear that lots of women have, especially young ones, I think. And so the message I want to say behind this story for me was we work together as a collective global community, no matter what we do.
Right.
And I think that we would be much better off if beauty wasn't even in the question. I mean, it's an undeniable fact that those are things that we're going to notice. Right? Like, we're attracted to certain people because of the way that they look. We're not attracted to other people because of the way that they look, and whatever. And then personality comes into play, and all of the other complicated matters, and whatever.
It's hard to fight instinct with logic.
Exactly. But what I think is that we need to collectively steer away from bringing it up as a conversation topic in general.
Well, I'm sorry I brought it up.
Well, no. I just that's what I mean. I just mean like in the video I talk about how in the beginning, and I think I say my mom never once called me beautiful.
Yes.
And my mom never once called me pretty.
Yeah.
And people always ask me, they're like, well, that's depressing. And I was like, well, no, it isn't. Because my mom always told me I was hilarious. And my mom always told me that I was really funny. And that I was smart, and that I was compassionate, and that's what I focused on. Like, those were my qualities, you know. Like, never once have I felt with my mom that I need to look a certain way in front of her, ever, because that was never part of our dynamic. So then I think about, like, okay, well, what if I had that dynamic with everybody else around me, right? So that's just something that I think that I would like to see more of with people.
Yeah.
And even for some reason, it's really okay for somebody to walk into a room and have somebody else say, wow, you look really good today. Whereas for some reason, it's not appropriate if you walk into the room and say something funny to have somebody be like, you're hilarious. Like, we don't do that. Or we never say, wow, that was really good, you're really smart. Or, wow, you figured something out that I wouldn't have been able to figure out. Like, that doesn't come up as often, right? Like, if you think about it, in the day-to-day, that doesn't come up as often. Or
not as
I
freely.
really admire what you're doing. You know, like, that never comes up, really.
No, you're right.
So I think, like, I would at least like to get to the point in a society where we can compliment things about people that aren't based off of looks as easily as we can base things off of saying, I like your shoes. You know what I mean? So.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get there in our lifetime.
Yeah, I know.
But one thing we can do, and I know this is something, this is kind of like the core of what my podcast has become, and it has been for a while, is that I've taken it upon myself to surround myself with people who are way smarter than me. Way smarter, much more funny, quicker, more intelligent in different fields than I am. Like, I'm, at the end of the day, when it came to the flip side, and I've made no bones about it, and in fact, I brought it up quite a few times, even on live broadcasts, that everyone else, Monroe, Jane, Professor Tom, the mad scientist, the world conqueror, all those guys, all those people are way more informed and way more intelligent than I am. I'm just the dude behind the microphone who knows how to make this board work.
Right.
So with that being said, I think that a world where an acceptance of someone's skills, intelligence, abilities is easily complemented as quickly as someone's physical appearance is not going to happen. But what we can do is create our own environment, our own circle of friends.
Exactly.
Where we have that comfort of, like, you are hilarious, or I can't believe you've done that. That is brilliant. Can you show me how? If not, I just want to watch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the only way we can really move on with our life.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to watch the video. You have to. I'm gonna post it in the description down below. It's gonna be on YouTube as well. On the podcast, it'll be in the description. There'll be something there. You have to watch it.
Yeah.
You have
Another
to.
thing too, like making that video was really hard for my mom, because she'd been wanting to write a book about her. Okay, the story that I came up with in like 8 minutes that my video is like not even the tip of the iceberg about her story. And she's been dabbling, she's a photographer, but she's been dabbling in this idea of writing a book about everything that she's been through. And she's never really been very public about a lot of it, so when I made this, she was terrified. She was like, wow, okay, that means that people are gonna know about it. And she posted it to her Facebook and had people who she's Facebook friends with from like whatever, that they reconnected at a high school reunion, being like, I had no idea you were going through that at this time, or like, well, no wonder this was the way you were, or no matter, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so the amount of like support that she's gotten from releasing her story now at this point in her life, I mean, she's almost 29.
Good answer.
So she's almost 50, and like she does not look a day over 30, but like actually it's scary. But I think the liberation that she's had and being able to be honest with people around her and knowing her story is huge. And in the past couple of years, she has stopped putting everybody else before herself, which I think is the best thing that she ever did. So, I mean, she didn't have to homeschool me anymore. She didn't have to drive me around everywhere anymore. She works for my dad's company sometimes, but it's not all the time anymore. She's taken up photography, and it's been so interesting to see her confidence come through her photos and tell stories that she sees through her experiences. So yeah, with that, she always wants me to clarify when people watch that video that she knows that I made it about her and that I'm not just like revealing a bunch of information. So.
Well, she is in the video. I mean,
Yeah.
there's actually video footage of her.
Yeah, but
so.
she's a pretty badass little lady, and if you like photos, look it up on Flickr, because she has some really good photos. My parents were just in Scotland, and she has some pretty spectacular pictures from there. So if you like Scotland, yeah. Anyways, that's that.
We're going to wrap this up, but would you like to come back? I would love to have you come back.
Of course, I'll check my schedule. I'm just so busy.
I know you are.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, I would love to. I love to chat.
Awesome. I love having you in here. This has been great.
I agree.
Levi, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This has been The Flipside, episode 401.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry. 401?
401.
Oh, wow.
You can follow me on Twitter at TheMediaJack. You can follow Levi on Instagram.
Yeah, on Instagram at Levi P. Sinclair.
And you can download this either on iTunes or the Blogspot. It's at TheMediaJack.blogspot.ca. And you could watch it on YouTube. And we will catch you later.